This is Niobrara 1's 2018 facility plan meeting with the state construction department, specifically the school facilities division, and we'll introduce ourselves first.
Good afternoon. I'm Brandon Finney, Planning and Finance, State Construction.
Troy Decker, Planning.
Charlie Kaufman, Planning. So here we have Aaron Carr, Superintendent.
Stuart Larson, Business Manager.
Amber Leach, Planning.
Okay, welcome everybody. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video camera here because sometimes we have some streaming challenges, and so we'll go with that. Okay, so just down through here, I think we have everybody that's going to attend this meeting registered here. I just did kind of you can see my screen, is that correct, Aaron?
Yes, we're good.
Perfect, thank you. So I just kind of put some Google Earth photos of your middle school, your high school. I should say, where do I have your, that's kind of like an elementary middle school together, isn't it?
Yeah, they're co-located.
Oh, okay. I shouldn't have said middle school. I really should have said like K-8, correct?
Yep.
All righty, and then Lands Creek.
Yep.
All right, and we're just going to go, the reason we have Amber working so hard on the front end of these things is, you know, all the details of facility planning, our database, we do that stuff in advance. So I'm just going to kind of go through this stuff. You have something to say, fine. If not, let's just move on and we'll get to the good stuff we're talking about with regard to the things that involve us all. So we do appreciate your preparation and Amber's hard work to get this ready. So with regard to your tracts and deeds, those have been verified. They obviously impact your block grant for groundskeeper's positions. So we appreciate each year just looking at those, and I think those are pretty consistent. Your land leases, you have one particular, and that's out at your Lands Creek. And you guys were talking about that it automatically renews, so as long as you pay before August 1st of each year. So that's a blessing. And that one's important, obviously, because in order for us to invest state funds on that land, it's important to have that lease updated. You guys did a great job in the last year or so getting that arranged in such a way that it abides by state statute. And you guys are in a position where we can invest capital funds if the legislature follows through with the appropriations. And we are going to have a discussion on that today.
Okay. Yeah.
Brandon's up to date on that, and he'll kind of give us the latest and greatest. You know how the legislative session is. It's anybody's guess what will turn out in the end up to this point. Bob Herzog just joined us. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
So type that in. All right, so with that then, we'll talk about that capital project in a minute here. Property profiles, this has an effect on your major maintenance. Obviously, you have gross square feet tied to each facility. And then, of course, we have the major maintenance calculation as defined by state statute. And then ADM comes over from WDE to us. We plug it in, and it'll produce a certain allowable square feet that you're paid for with regard to major maintenance. And then other things in our database, we do send this data back over to WDE, and they they go off the addresses. And Charlie and Jed Ciccarelli have really worked hard to coordinate and to have the same data that WDE has and we have, so that you guys are getting what you need out of the block grant and assurance that everything is in line with regard to accurate data. Enhancements, you just confirmed that those are there, so we appreciate that. We have to report that on an annual basis to the select committee. District appropriations, there are no appropriations for capital money, so there's nothing to revert or anything like that. Very simple. And now, Bob, we're to security.
Okay. So looking at what we've got available for you guys as far as the security projects, we have a total of $104,998. It has not been expended on your district yet. What we're trying to do is talking to all the districts is to encumber as much of these funds as we possibly can for the projects out in your area. Towards that end, I have some talking points here that we're given to the project managers to go over with the district. So
We're having trouble hearing you here.
You wanna, it's actually up
Let's
there.
go
You
down
wanna
there.
sit right over there, Bob.
okay,
We're gonna reposition him. He's a soft-voiced, former musician, singer,
that's right. So over here.
right there.
Right there. We're coming out of the camera.
Okay,
On
Bob,
the camera?
Bob just scooted a little closer to you. Tell us if this helps.
All right, guys. So I just want to go over these talking points that we have.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. I wasn't aware the camera was also the microphone. So. Just want to run through these points here real quick with you. The original funding for the security projects was done during the 2014 House Enrolled Act, and that was for a total of $9 million. The funding of the projects was defined under the 2015 Senate Enrolled Act, number 89. Under that, October 2014, security standards for the Wyoming K-12 schools were developed and released. In January through June of 2015, the independent facility assessment for all school buildings was done by FEA. In July of 2015, there was identified 1,500 plus security projects in AIM. August of 2015, the assessment of the buildings was publicly released. In September of 2015, the security remedy guide was released. The most effective elements to provide school security to a common level are funded for the hard cost only. The funded security priorities, and those were 8, the first 8, have been available for authorization since July of 2015. In addition to that, we have major maintenance funding that was established under the House Enrolled Act number 12, whereas a school district may expend up to 10% of the amount distributed under their major maintenance program for the period commencing July 1st, 2016 and ending July 1st, 2018 for safety and security, building, and facility needs. Concerns that sufficient soft costs in addition to the hard costs provided by 2014 HEA 56 and 2015 Senate Act 89 that may have exceeded individual districts' ability to fund can be taken from major maintenance up to 10% of the 2017-2018 major maintenance funding. As far as the district requests go, you can move funds between project appropriations, but that must be in writing and have the acknowledgement that no backfill funding will be available for those projects that are swept into another projects. The SFD will honor change agreements that were or possibly have been made by the SFD that are captured in a written record. The goal of the security funding is intended to give each district an equal opportunity to provide security to security standards for Wyoming K-12 schools. The School Facilities Commission Select Committee for School Facilities have stated concerns with the slow deployment of the funds that were originally established. For the 2017 supplemental budget session of the legislature, the SFD proposed an additional $17.9 million for the next 2 priorities of security funds, which would have been 9 and 10. That was declined by the legislature in part due to slow deployment of the 2014 to 2015 funds. The SFD is encouraging every district to have all funds currently appropriated fully encumbered. So on behalf of the school districts, the SFD can again make a request for the next round of security funding. A couple other things we just wanted to bring up. The Homeland Security funding contacts are provided by Amber in a facility plan folder in AIM. And also we have coming up here quite quickly here, March 13th, the follow-up security conference meeting is going to be hosted by Fremont 24 Shoshone at the Central Wyoming College, 2660 Peck Avenue in Riverton, Wyoming. And the contact person for information on that is Kay Watson, and her number is 307-876-2817. And so our question to all the districts is what can we do to help assist you in utilizing the funds that have been made available to you.
So here's what I made here, Bob, you can read it.
Let me turn around here, got both sides here. Let's see. So as far as your notes are here, we bid a project to secure the main entry for both buildings and establish entry by way of signing in and then electronic unlocking of the door. However, the bid came in at over $250,000, so we did not move forward with the project.
Yeah.
So now
But essentially, what we worked with Tanner, and as I understand it, we were basically we were able to use the entire amount, the $108,000, to try to get our 2 entry vestibules secured for both main buildings, for the high school as well as the LEMS, and that's what that's in reference to, is just to upgrade the vestibules and to where the secretary could lock the door if she saw a threat coming, and to get new storefronts and all that. But it was just an outrageous bid that we got for it, and it brings up a bigger problem of Niobrara County, that it just costs so much to get anything done here because of the mobilization factor. So I don't know what we do moving forward, whether we try to just work on the individual components of the security, or if we try to rebid the vestibule project. I'm not sure what to do now.
well, we actually go either direction on that, whatever the district feels is more appropriate. We can take the funds that we do have for all those projects, like you were saying, and get it into 2 secured vestibule projects. However, the balance of the funding for those projects would have to come from the district, from the 10% security,
Right.
if we went that direction. We could.
So we'd need to use if we, let's say for instance, we got another high bid, let's say another 250,000, the district would have to kick in like 150 out of our major maintenance in order to do that, correct?
That would be correct.
Okay.
So you, like I said, like you were saying before, the other option is to visit those specific elements that were listed as far as deficiencies and go along and try to get those bid out. The question would be, obviously, are you going to have the same type of success or non-success that you realize with those 2 vestibule projects, or what? But we can go any kind of combination of either direction. We're obviously trying to help the district out as much as we can with the funds that were made available. So it's a conversation that we certainly could have a further conversation on that, try to come up with a game plan on how to move forward on that.
Okay.
Some of these too, Bob, some of these CAT elements may qualify, if the system's there and they're just upgrading it, right, it qualifies for regular maintenance.
If the system exists, yes.
Yeah. So there's Aaron, there's multiple combinations here that you guys can do. I mean, obviously you have your 10% major maintenance funds, you have your 10% security major maintenance funds, you have these security funds, and then you have regular major maintenance funds. So you may be, in reality, able to realize more of this cost with those existing funds than perhaps you originally thought. Is that fair to say? Did you guys look at regular major maintenance with Tanner when you were talking about making up the difference?
We talked about some major maintenance. I guess I didn't think about the 10% money.
Yeah, the 10%, this 52,000, man, anything that doesn't qualify for major maintenance, that 52,271.69, that's free game. You can spend that on anything related to security needs. So, and what you probably want to do is take that and apply it to that which doesn't qualify for the major maintenance definition. I mean, you can, so that would be 53,000 right there. And then your 10% major maintenance, like Bob said, and then your regular maintenance. Some of these things, depending on what your scope of service is or work, will qualify for regular major maintenance. You may be able to make up the lion's share of that cost and be able to move forward with what you have.
Yeah, that makes it better.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can establish, whatever's convenient for you, Aaron, to have that conversation just let me know. I'll be glad to help.
Okay, and we did get a camera and monitors set up in each location. They're not recording, they're just showing live what's out there. So it was pretty cheap. And where would, I keep reminding myself when we have these meetings, oh, I gotta get that submitted or taken care of. Where should that come out of?
Depends on what you've got going there. We'll let Dee take a look at that, exactly what kind of cameras were those? Are those internal cameras or the external cameras? What do you have?
They're outside, yes.
They're outside?
Yep, and then and both building secretaries have, I forget if it's one monitor or two. I think it's just one that, it's just showing a steady picture of the view of the camera outside up the sidewalk, because both building, the high school office, you can see, right outside the front door, but if somebody comes up, I mean, you could be walking up and then you wouldn't be visible to the secretary out the window until you're 3 steps, 4 steps maybe from the door when you come around that corner. I mean, there's no way you could lock it fast enough.
Okay. Well, why don't we, offline from this particular meeting, let's have a further discussion about this. I may want to come up there and do a physical examination of exactly where you got it and what it might be appropriate for.
Okay.
Okay, we can set something up at your convenience.
So I just put various major maintenance funds are available and may be applicable for expenditure based on whether or not parts of the scope qualify for the major maintenance definition. So yeah, that's a great opportunity, you guys, to work through that. And I think you'll find that there probably are more things qualifying for regular major maintenance. And then, you start throwing in again your security, your 10% major maintenance, and your 10% security. Those are great resources, but the security in particular is great for things that don't exist, don't qualify for major maintenance, but are part of the scope.
Okay.
All right, good discussion there. Capacity.
Very good. So for your district right now, we have we have done all the buildings in your district for a location by location basis, and the things that drive capacity in your buildings are mainly, for example, in the K-8, it's your classrooms, and the gym, I think, drives just 25 per half court, or 1 for 1 instructor for the size of your school, and that's the case for both the K-8 and the high school. And so this is kind of where we are at in your district right now. So the K-8 has a building capacity of 478 per our methodology, and the high school has a 387 capacity per our methodology once again. And Lance Creek is just 2 classrooms, 2 classroom modulars, so not too much there in terms of capacity on that building.
Room to grow.
Say that again.
Room to grow.
Room to grow.
Yep.
Yep, room to grow.
Let's
That's
get those children coming in. Okay. Well, that sounds good. Let me go to your spreadsheet here. Nothing too revelatory here. You guys have been dropping down just a little bit. Over the last few years, you're down to 294.
Right.
So but you guys, I mean, unless you know something we don't know, we don't anticipate any huge changes. That's probably more related to birth rate, perhaps, than anything else, you think?
Well, yeah, that's some of it, and the ag-wise, what you hear on the news, there's a lot fewer farms and ranches, and they're a lot larger, so they take fewer people.
Oh, sure.
And grandma and grandpa are still living on the farm, and the grandkids have went to college and left the state.
Yeah.
For the children, and a few come back, or stay or whatever, but it just those numbers are just decreasing in general. We're not busing in near as many kids as they did back in the day. So
that's kind of sad, isn't it, to see that change over the last several.
Yeah.
Yeah. Specifically the generation that's phasing out. There are a lot of times there aren't children filling those spots. So.
Yeah, this is my 10th year here, and when I first got here in 2008, we had 124 kids in the high school, and here a couple years ago they dropped down below 100, and now I think there's The other, last year, I think they ended with 92, and I think there's 88 or something, 89 or something over there now.
Yep.
Wow.
Just looking at your kindergarten classes, it looks like in the last 10 years you guys have averaged 28, so this year just a little bit up from that. If you go through K through about 6th grade, kindergarten through 6, your average class size is 21. They advance into the middle school, high school, average is 24, so a little bit smaller classes coming up there. You've got kind of this is just a really interesting pattern you have that we don't see a lot in the state. Now this number, and how this works is like last year you had 30 kindergarten students, and then look at this number, this is dramatic. And then you only had 18 that went on into 1st grade, but that's an 80% survival rate. But what we found over the years is basically, I think developmentally, you may not be promoting all of the kindergartners to 1st grade right away. It looks like you're holding them and then waiting one more year for developmental progress and then putting them into 1st grade. Is that correct?
Yeah, JK kids or junior kindergarten.
Yeah.
And some of them are designed in JK, and they're going to be 2 years, and others are probably not sure at the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year, it's like, no, you need another year. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we're finding that, and I don't know, Aaron. I mean, it seems like that's being done almost in all the school districts across the state. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, I don't know. I know we do it, but I can't speak to the others.
Seems like there's quite a few.
Yeah, it looks like a common practice. And then from 1st to 2nd, you have 97. But you guys are actually, it's really interesting, from 2nd grade pretty well through senior year. You guys are actually picking up students as you go, the students progress through the K-12 system. You're actually picking up students as you go. So you have
Why are the numbers going down then?
You what?
So why are the numbers going down then?
Now that was an observation from for your 1st grade to 2nd grade, or I'm sorry, kindergarten, 1st grade, and that was only this last year that kind of a change went. But that's kind of let me go back. Let me stop for a second. Once you get off of kindergarten to 1st, and you have that junior kindergarten thing take place. You went from 19 to 17, 25 here, but see right here, 25 to 27, you gained 2 students, you gained 1 student, you lost a student, gained a student, lost 2, lost 1, gained 4 from freshman to sophomore, lost 1, lost 2. So, but again, this is a 10-year trailing data, and what it does is it takes each and every one of those classes each year, and as they progress to the next grade level. So for instance, this 80% here came from your kindergarten from 7 to 1st grade 8. You see how those go? And it's actually taking
it's like testing.
Yeah, it's just taking the average. So I don't know why you're gaining, but over a 10-year period, you are gaining. It looks like you have about a 1% from 1st grade on. You have about a 1% gain overall from 1st grade through senior year.
Okay.
So I don't know why that is, but that's not really all that common in the state. You guys have a very, very stable student population for the most part.
Right.
And where you do lose some students, it looks like you're gaining them the next year, or in the next class, I should say. So anyway, very interesting. Okay, we'll go off of that then. Continuing on.
State capacity list. So every year for our policy 2013-20, we prioritize our capacity needs by high, medium, and low. High being above 100% of capacity, medium between 95 and 100%, and low between 90 and 95%.
Definitely not a problem there.
What's that?
That we're definitely not a capacity problem.
No, this is more for your information than anything, and we share this information with all school districts. And so we do have a couple districts out there that do have some high priority needs. For example, Rock Springs at the high school there, we're just currently conducting a planning study for them to find a medium-term capacity remedy for them. So it's more for your information than anything.
Okay.
It's nice to know that we're having capacity challenges somewhere in the state, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay, and then one of the challenges is just looking at your major maintenance calculations and allowable square footage. However, you guys are blessed. We've checked several times with our attorney in-house just to make sure we weren't violating state statute or anything. Your ADM is driving X number of X amount of major maintenance, and we know that has to do with your virtual school. And so you guys are, and there's nothing in state statute that eliminates you from getting paid for those virtual school students. And so that does calculate into your major maintenance. So just let you know, we haven't changed that, and I don't think we have any statutory.
Actually, I do want to point one thing out. This one was an illustration of what your in-building ADM is and what it would drive if it was just your in-building students.
Oh, this is just a FYI if we went off of our bricks and mortar ADM.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And that's, I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out really quick while Troy was talking about that. More so for, this is for illustration. That way, when we went across the board, we were comparing apples to apples with the other districts. So this is
good.
Mortar.
This is something that you can use internally when you're comparing.
Correct.
Okay.
So, sorry. I want to make
No,
sure
that was good.
Yeah, this is the district that has the market on the virtuals.
Yeah, Bighorn one, and then Niobrara.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember. How many students do you have currently enrolled in there right now? I was trying to remember if it's 650.
About 650.
Wow. Not to deviate, but how did you guys get started on that?
Prior superintendent looked into it, and well, see, I've been here 10 years, and it started my second year, so it's been going for 9 years. Basically, he saw it as a way to keep our teacher, if we have, because for example, we have most content areas in the high school, we have 2 teachers. Some we have like, 1.5 English teacher, 1.5 social studies teachers, because one of them is half English, half social studies. Two things. One, it was a way to have extra students for our teachers to teach. Right now, we have 2 science teachers. One of them is half bricks and mortar, half virtual, and she would not have came here for a half-time job, obviously. And the other thing is just to be able to offer more classes to students that we're not able to offer.
Gotcha.
Did you hire a girl named Hope last year or a year before?
Not that I remember.
Okay. Okay, so continuing on here, I think we got that captured. Charter schools, don't have one. Alternative education program, don't have one.
No.
Condition-wise, just looking, we'll go into condition now. Life cycle of buildings, just like a vehicle, the way you take care of it along the way determines how many miles you get out of it. You guys obviously are taking care of your buildings with preventive maintenance, with routine maintenance. As buildings age, that's what major maintenance is about. You have those deferred maintenance costs that you have along the way, and then eventually a building gets to a certain condition, not necessarily age, even though there's somewhat of a correlation between those two, not always, but gets to a certain condition, and then the state of Wyoming has to look at infusion of capital monies and whether a building should be renovated or replaced. The higher the FCI stands for Facility Condition Index number, higher that number on a list, the more deferred maintenance is related or correlated to that building's condition. This is just page 1 of, there's over 400, like 450 educational buildings across state, and this just shows that first page of from right now, at least that I'm aware of, 0.4 and greater right now. These ones that are 0.4 greater and up, are or have been requested for capital projects or planning studies or in motion in some way, shape, or form. So those are being addressed in the, at least requested in the present legislature discussions that are going on. You guys, your Lands Creek Elementary School, we talked about that last year, and we're going to talk about that just in a few minutes. We're going to go through that one, what we've requested for you, and Brandon's going to talk about the status of that one as of, who knows, today. But other than your Lands Creek modular, you guys really have really nice buildings. They seem to be in great shape, 0.2, 1 or less. So you guys are looking really good for the condition of your buildings. We do always appreciate you sending in your major maintenance, your 680 form over to JJ. This is basically just reconciliation of your major maintenance account and expenditures related to that. And so we do appreciate that each year, and that's something we have to keep track of. This is just last year's priorities. What you guys did, looks like you had some mass notification systems and heating. This is just just an example of what you did last year. We can go back 10 years or 11 years now and look at it. This is a numerical breakdown of your priorities last year and a system by system per building breakdown of those priorities. This one I wanted to talk to you about just a little bit, and we'll come back to this, but here's your low condition scores. So each system gets a 1 to 5 score in your buildings when the assessors come through, and 5 being excellent, 4 being good, 3 being fair, 2 being poor, and 1 being failure. So these 1s and 2s represent deferred maintenance that are either poor or failure. And I know that you've kind of made some comments over here as well. And obviously, we're looking for the same thing as you are at Lands Creek, which is replacement of that modular eventually here. One thing I wanted to come back to in just a moment is the $459,000. You guys are talking about completing that. That one may be a great opportunity for component level funding, and we'll come back and talk about that one in just a minute. Your balance then, basically as of February 27th, was 156,834. If you, all things equal, if you got about a $500,000 payment for major maintenance, you would have about $655,000. So that represents that. We always have you guys clean up your work orders in our AIM database, so that if you've already reported everything on the 680 and something's completely been reported, you can close those. And this just keeps the ones that are work in progress or open only. And then with regard to component level funding, we did ask for and make a recommendation, and the commission made that recommendation actually to the select committee, and it's kind of gone through. Again, Brandon will talk about this, but we did make recommendations for 1 through 16. You can see roof replacements are usually definitely in the top, HVAC controls, stuff like that. So those are usually the regular ones that show up. And so about $10.5 million in component level funding. Component level funding is really designed as a capital source to supplement major maintenance. In smaller districts like yours, when your payment is, of course, you're getting $500,000 because of your virtual students, so that helps a lot. But in smaller districts, it's hard to come up with enough money to replace a $500,000 roof. And then what you do is you basically drain your major maintenance, and then you don't have any money to spend on the other needs. So that's what component level funding is about. Last year, the governor approved $21 million worth of component level funding, which helped districts across state. Priority 17 through 37 were not recommended in this budget, so they're just sitting out there, and if districts want, they can come back and recommend them. So I wanted to go back for just a second. Let's look at applying for component funding. Okay, so you were talking about your high school fire alarm system. Let's go back up to the 1s and 2s for a second and see if we can blow that up. Where's our high school? Right here. And fire protection specialties. You got, okay, so protection specialties. Okay, so you're talking about your high school and your fire protection specialties, which is about $98,000. and then you also have your some industrial arts. It looks like so about 100,000 there. I was kind of curious though on your high school. I mean, you really truly do have a $1 million roof. In our opinion, and please correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Roofs are almost always successful at getting prioritized higher on the component list. So I kind of highlighted that, saying, you know, if you can get that roof to last a few more years, it may be worth putting that as a component level request as well. What do you guys think?
I would agree.
The one thing that I had an electrical engineer, his name's Doug Vallis. He's out of Rapid City, and he does fire alarm systems. He told me that I'm probably looking at probably around $600,000 for a new fire alarm for the high school,
Gotcha.
at least.
Yep.
So you got probably two components.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's both.
Well, that sounds good. And these are just based on condition and you know,
What's the deadline for component level funding?
what's that again?
When isn't that in the fall that you put in for the component level funding?
Actually, people are working on it right now. It's due September 15th or so. We do have on our website, we do have a webinar for you guys to look at. But I'll tell you, if I had a $500,000 roof, I'd be probably putting my major maintenance in. I mean, again, this is just a recommendation from us. Do what you feel is best. But if with that kind of a project at $500,000, it may be good to maybe take your major maintenance, put it on some of these other things, and then maybe put that roof on as a component level funding request.
Well, we could probably do both the fire alarm and the roof.
Yeah,
couldn't we?
yeah. You'll have to break it down per building.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
at the high school, I mean, two separate component level requests.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I think. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And I think it was under planning, if I recall right.
Yeah, 2018
Yeah.
fire request.
Right. Yeah, under planning tab right here, and we've got a video that we did on a webinar. Charlie and I think. Did you participate too? Okay, and watch that, and then you've got within your facility plan, you do have what you need in order to submit for component level requests and instructions. There's instructions there plus this video. So, okay, just wanted to make you aware of that resource, and we all are encouraging you to maybe pursue the roof coverings as well. And then Bob would be more than happy to help you along the way as you develop the scope and stuff to work with you to get that submitted as well.
Okay.
Okay, good discussion. So I think here, guys, I'm just going to fire alarm is acceptable, but SFD also recommends roof at the high school. Sometimes I have to catch up with myself. I did this last week and we've got it covered now. So, okay, with that, Brandon, since you've been kind of, you're all over this legislative session, you know exactly what they're going to do. So why don't you fill us in about this portion?
If I did, I'd have a nice crystal ball. But so far, what we have in this session is they have two separate bills on the House and the Senate. Right now, they both agree that all modular leases should be paid and component level projects. And right now, your modular building is currently still in there. So,
Okay.
Which is a great thing. A lot of the other stuff, you know, we had land money and planning money and other funded stuff in there, but that's pretty much looks like it's going to die. But this stuff's still surviving, so if it's appropriated. It does have an asterisk by it, and that means that the funds could be made available immediately, which would allow you guys to get this hopefully completed by the fall, so students could use it.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see what goes on there. The other thing that we've got going through is House Bill 32. We did a planning study on some major maintenance, how to transition into asset preservation. The only thing that's left so far is they're going to eliminate 7-year phase in. So if you had a new facility, you'd be getting major maintenance from day one to cover those big ticket items such as the roof that we just looked at, or fire alarm, some of those things that come through.
So Lance Creek then would generate major maintenance day one.
As a modular?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, because it's a school.
Yep.
It is in and of itself. Okay, good.
Yeah,
So
hopefully we
that's-
got enough money in there to come in and clean everything up. I think, we visited that site. I think that was very helpful. We got drainage issue, upgrade that septic tank, get a nice new facility in there, and get rid of the other one. So, I
So
really
that
hope
works.
this goes through.
If that gets approved, would Bob help with planning that, or how do I?
Yeah, so process would be to go out and get a professional service provider, an architect, get it designed. You had some drainage and stuff in there, so they would help design that so you don't have any negative drainage or drainage that flows into the existing facility I think it's to the west, if I recall correctly. Get all that figured out, what your septic tank, leach field, whatever configuration that is. And they would put all that little project out to bid and get somebody to come in, remove the existing, do your cleanup of your site, then bring in a new one and set it down.
Okay, it just seems like a lot to get done between now and next fall.
Yeah.
All you got to do is call Bob every single day and stay on top of it.
Okay.
Bob is anxious to help you. We know it.
But even if it's not done, if you go methodically and slow and do it right, the nice thing is that once the appropriations are there, then just get started on it. Whatever works. Dude, maybe you could even put the kids in that other facility that we walked through. I don't know, but
Yeah, while they're finishing up in the fall.
yeah, there's some options, and then you move them in later or something. So
Okay.
There are some things, I mean, you don't want to, well, hey, you'll know within what? When's the last day of the session?
Saturday.
Okay, so Saturday, Aaron, don't wait on us. I mean, on Monday morning, we should kind of know what's at least going forward to the governor.
Yep.
And then I don't know how long he has to sign that.
Until middle March.
Middle March.
Yeah.
So, but once we know, you track that with us and stuff, and once you know, you guys need to get on this with Bob and see what you guys can get out there.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you guys been following all these bills?
No.
Okay. Maybe just call on Monday or Tuesday and we'll see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because that one, if it is appropriated immediately, the thing you could do is start the procurement, contingent on availability of funds, and then have all that ready so when the money hits the bank account, the architect can get going.
Okay.
Anything else?
So there's options to fast track it a little bit.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's the main one there.
Supplemental budget, Brandon.
So in the current situation, we got their allowing us when we go in the general session. We can ask for an emergency or unanticipated funds. And right now, I don't really see any needs on your guys' side, looking through your capacity or a condition. Especially if that modular gets funded, you'll be looking really good. Anything on your side that I'm not seeing?
What?
Anything on your side that I'm not really seeing?
No.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so district, anything else that we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about before we close out our meeting?
No, nothing that we haven't covered.
Okay, staff?
No. Look forward to see the outcome on the modular.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys see how we just volunteer Bob for everything over there?
Yeah.
Gang up on him?
Everybody needs a Bob.
Yeah, well, yeah. And, if we were all as competent as Bob, maybe other people would empower us like we empower him.
All right.
Okay, with that then, thank you so much for joining us. Amber, thank you for joining us. Yeah, Sickie. So we'll probably see you about Thursday or Friday, won't we, Amber?
Well, I'll talk to you in the morning. I'll try to make it if I can.
Don't worry.
Okay, with that,
Thanks for all your work, Amber.
You're welcome.
we'll stop the recording. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.